welcome back again. We are going to continue from where we left off. We left off where I told you that I made time to talk to my sister about my feelings when I couldn't stand this guy who I was trying to get married to. When I saw him at church, my heart is beating so fast. I was upset. I was nervous. Like every time I'm at church or even anywhere I saw him, I'll be very uncomfortable. So I decided to talk to my sister about that feeling. However, I also needed to let you all know that the response that I received from my sister doesn't mean that she made me do this or made me not do that. The point here is this. Everyone's situations are different. Just because it worked out for you or it worked out for the other person doesn't mean it will work out the same way for yourself. That's why my first video about my experience in my adult age, I mentioned that it's very important that you find out the truth for yourself. Regardless of any type of advice anybody could give you, it's your decision to make. So when I told my sister about how I felt and how I kept feeling anytime I saw this guy or whenever he's around me, she said it happens. As a matter of fact, love takes time to grow. She also shared some few experiences that she had during her own time. And I believe is a common feeling whereby, you and this person, you can stand him or he can stand you at first. But then gradually, love will start to develop and, something will happen and as you kept getting to know each other, that the love will just boomerang and you are loving on each other. It worked out perfectly for her during her own time. But could it have worked out like that for me? I didn't know. I just took her advice that I'm feeling this way, it's going to be temporal. At some point, the love will start growing and all that. But it did not stop. It continued. It continued to the extent that one day, I went home, sat down in my bedroom and got a very long notebook and wrote a letter. This letter was very long, but the summary of what I wrote in that letter was that I appreciate that you have interest in getting married to me. I think I have the same feeling, but right now I just want to put a stop to it. I want to hold on for now. I don't know why my feelings are no longer what I thought it should be, but I want to give it some time. So at the end of the day, if God still wants this to happen, it will happen. And if God doesn't want it to happen, God will do whatever pleases him. And now there is a very important aspect of this whole story that I left off. I want to bring that up right now. And that was the fact that this guy, when he was introduced to me, was getting ready to travel outside the country. It was one of the significant points that was mentioned to me. He was getting ready to travel, and because of his traveling, it was very significant to him that either he's engaged or he's married, because that's going to help him to focus when he travels. That aspect of his life is very important to him. However, to me, I was not in a rush. I was just 18 years. I don't need to be rushed into making any decision just because you're traveling. So I included that in the letter when I was writing him. I said, go on and travel. They do whatever you want to do. If God wants me to end up with you, I will be waiting for you when you come back. But if not, then I'm sure he will give you somebody else. After writing this letter, I was able to give it to somebody who, I think it was his best friend. I met him at the fellowship and I gave him the letter to give to the guy, and he did. Now, what I noticed is that the moment that letter got into his hand, he left from the fellowship, went outside, didn't come back in, and from the fellowship, straight to my sister's house. And fortunately for him, my sister was not at the fellowship as well. So after the letter got into my sister's hands, it was like actually the same day, the very evening of the same day, my sister came to her house from her husband's house, and she came and she was like, okay, we need to talk. The summary of that conversation is that everything in the letter, she read it and she did not agree with me. She just made it clear that I'm being confused because, as young as I am, I don't even know what I want. So, like I said, I believe my sister has a very good intention. But the bottom line is that there were several occasions where I should have stood my ground and decide what I want for myself. I should have said to my sister, you know what, sis? I meant every detail of what I wrote in that letter. I just want to put everything to a stop. I don't think she will force me and said, you must continue, you must continue. But every time, it seems like on my confused state of mind, it felt like any type of advice works for me. I never felt like I have the right to make decisions for myself. So at the end of the day, I continued with that relationship again. And to end this phase of this story, I ended up saying yes to this man to the point where we moved on and started planning a wedding. Fortunately or unfortunately, a week before our wedding, he received a letter from his uncle who is in the United States that have invited him to join him. And the letter was that his immigration application has been granted. So he's now being offered a visa to come over here. So the wedding that we were planning to have, the big wedding, ended up being a wedding between me, my family, and his family. Everything was automatically rushed, and we had the wedding. And 4 days, exactly 4 days after the wedding, he traveled. So my next video, you're going to find out what happened after he traveled. How did we continue long distance marriage? And every other thing that happened after that, I'm going to be sharing with you. Thank you once again for your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.